Judge, good morning everyone. Please be seated. We have an interesting case before us today. Let me tell you, in all my years on this bench, and I have been doing this for a very long time, I have seen just about everything you can imagine. But every once in a while a case comes through these doors that reminds me why I still come to work every single day. Now, before we begin, I want to make something very clear. This courtroom is a place of respect. It is a place where we seek justice, yes, but we do it with dignity, compassion, and fairness. I don't care if you are rich or poor. I don't care what your last name is or who your father is. In this courtroom, everyone is equal under the law. That is how it works, that is how it should work, and that is how it will always work as long as I am sitting in this chair. So let's talk about why we are here today. The defendant before me is a young woman, 23 years old. Her name is Madison Elizabeth Thornton, born March 12, 2001, currently residing at 1847 Blackstone Boulevard in the east side of Providence. She is the daughter of Robert Thornton, the CEO of Thornton Industries, one of the largest real estate development companies in Rhode Island, with a valuation of over $400 million. But what matters more than her name or her father's position is what she did. And let me tell you exactly what she did, because this isn't just about breaking the law. This is about something much deeper than that. 3 months ago, on August 15, 2024, at approximately 4:30 in the afternoon, this young woman was driving her vehicle, a white 2024 Range Rover Sport, Rhode Island license plate TH4582, worth over $120,000. She was driving it recklessly through the Elmwood neighborhood here in Providence. Not just speeding, mind you. We are talking about going 70 miles per hour in a 25 mile per hour zone. She was doing 70 on Cranston Street between Haskins Avenue and Broad Street. This is a residential area where children play, where families walk their dogs, and where elderly people cross the street to get their mail. But it gets worse, much worse. When she was pulled over by Officer Daniel Martinez, badge number 347, an 18-year veteran of the Providence Police Department, at the intersection of Cranston Street and Haskins Avenue, she didn't show remorse. She didn't show concern. She didn't even show basic human decency. According to the police report in front of me, case number PR20240845882, and I'm reading this verbatim, when Officer Martinez approached her vehicle at 4:37 p.m. and asked her if she knew why she was being pulled over, her exact words were, "Do you know who my father is? He owns half the city. I can have your badge by tomorrow morning." Now, I have to be honest with you, when I read that, I had to put these papers down and take a moment. Those arrogant, dismissive, disrespectful words tell me everything I need to know about what we are dealing with here. This isn't just about speeding. This is about someone who believes that money, privilege, and their family name put them above the law, above consequences, and above basic human decency. But let me continue, because the story doesn't end there. Officer Martinez, being the professional that he is, remained calm. He explained the serious nature of her violation. He explained that she was endangering lives. And do you know what she did? She laughed. She actually laughed in his face. Then she took out her iPhone and started recording him, saying she was going to make him famous for all the wrong reasons. Now, Officer Martinez could have escalated that situation. He could have let his emotions get the better of him, but he didn't. He remained professional. At 4:49 p.m., he issued her 3 citations, numbers 24-28847, 24-28848, and 24-28849 for reckless driving, excessive speeding, and creating a public hazard. He documented everything properly. That is what good police work looks like. But here is where this case takes an even more disturbing turn. After receiving her citations, she posted on her Instagram account, username Madison Thornton, which has over 47,000 followers. These posts have been submitted as evidence, Exhibits C through G. She posted videos mocking Officer Martinez. She made fun of him. She called him names, including rent-a-cop and power-tripping nobody. She used her platform to try to humiliate a public servant who was simply doing his job. These posts were made on August 15th at 6:22 p.m. and August 16th at 10:15 a.m. One video alone received over 12,000 views within 24 hours. And then, and this is what really troubles me, 3 days later, on August 18, 2024, at 2:15 in the afternoon, she was caught on a Ring doorbell camera belonging to Mr. and Mrs. Richard Coleman at 247 Haskins Avenue in that same Elmwood neighborhood. She was driving recklessly again. Same white Range Rover, license plate TH4582. The video timestamp shows 2:15 p.m. Same behavior, same disregard for human life, same arrogance. It was as if that citation, that warning, and the law itself meant nothing to her. You see, I have been doing this job for 32 years. Since 1992, I have sat in this chair in the Providence Municipal Court, and I have seen teenagers make stupid mistakes. I have seen young people who made bad choices but showed genuine remorse. I have seen people who came from difficult circumstances make errors in judgment. And you know what? In many of those cases, I have shown mercy. I have given second chances. I have reduced sentences. I have offered community service instead of jail time. Because I believe in redemption. I believe people can change. I believe in the power of compassion. But I also believe in accountability. I believe that actions have consequences. And I believe that when someone shows a pattern of behavior that demonstrates a complete and total disregard for the safety of others, for the law, and for basic human respect, well then this court has an obligation. It is an obligation to protect the community and to send a message that no one, and I mean no one, is above the law. Now, let me talk about something else that has been brought to my attention. The defendant's father, Robert Thornton, CEO of Thornton Industries, a company that owns 17 commercial properties in downtown Providence and 12 residential developments across Rhode Island employing over 230 people, has been trying to use his influence to make this case go away. Between August 20th and September 5th, I personally received 7 phone calls to my chambers. I received 4 written letters. I have had 3 different people come to my office, including City Councilman James Patterson from Ward 3, Attorney Michael Breslin from the firm of Breslin and Associates on Westminster Street, and even Samuel Rodriguez, president of the Providence Chamber of Commerce. All of them suggested that maybe we should work something out, that maybe his daughter has learned her lesson, or that maybe a substantial donation to the Providence Youth Foundation or the Police Benevolent Association would be appropriate. They mentioned amounts between $50,000 and $75,000. Let me be crystal clear about something. I don't care how much money someone has. I don't care how many buildings they own or how many people they employ. I don't care if they are willing to donate $50,000 or $500,000. Money does not buy justice in this courtroom. Influence does not buy a pass on consequences. No amount of donations, deals, or backroom arrangements will change what happens here today, November 27, 2024, at 10:15 in the morning. Because here is what I think about when I look at this case. I think about the families in that Elmwood neighborhood. I think about the parents who heard a car roaring down Cranston Street at 70 mph and felt their hearts stop, wondering if their child was playing outside. I think about 72-year-old Mrs. Dorothy Henderson and her husband Frank, 74, both retired teachers from Hope High School who taught for 35 and 38 years respectively. They were crossing the street to visit their neighbor Margaret Sullivan at 289 Cranston Street on August 15th at 4:33 p.m. They had to jump back onto the curb because Madison Thornton couldn't be bothered to slow down. I think about all the young people out there who are watching cases like this, waiting to see whether the justice system works the same for everyone, or if it's different if you have money, if your father makes phone calls, or if you can afford expensive lawyers to try and intimidate police officers. And I'll tell you something else I think about. I think about what could have happened. We are very fortunate, and I mean very fortunate, that no one was hurt in these incidents. But what if there had been? What if 7-year-old Emma Rodriguez had been playing in a front yard at 241 Cranston Street? What if 59-year-old Mr. Thomas Chen, a postal worker for 22 years, had been getting his mail at 2:15 that afternoon? What if Mrs. Henderson had been taking the daily 3:00 walk she has been taking for the past 10 years? You know, I have 7 beautiful grandchildren ranging in age from 6 to 16. My youngest granddaughter, Sophia Marie Caprio, is 6 years old, born June 8, 2018. When I think about her playing in a neighborhood, enjoying a sunny day, and I think about someone like Madison Thornton driving 70 miles per hour through that neighborhood with complete disregard for her safety, it makes my blood run cold. It makes me realize that we aren't just talking about traffic violations here. We are talking about potential tragedy. We are talking about lives that could have been lost. Now let me read to you what the prosecutor has recommended. Assistant District Attorney Sarah Chen, who has been with the Providence DA's office for 9 years and has handled over 327 traffic cases with an 89% conviction rate, is asking for a substantial fine of $10,000, a 2-year license suspension, 150 hours of mandatory community service, and a jail sentence of 90 days to drive home the seriousness of these offenses. The defense attorney, Attorney Jennifer Morrison from Morrison Legal Group on North Main Street, and she is a good attorney who has been practicing criminal defense for 15 years, graduating from Roger Williams Law School in 2009, is asking for leniency. She points out that Madison Thornton has no prior criminal record. She suggests that a fine of $3,000 and 80 hours of community service would be sufficient. She also mentions that her client is young, having graduated from Moses Brown School in 2019 and Boston University in 2023 with a degree in marketing and communications, and argues that a harsh sentence could damage her future career prospects. I have listened to both arguments. I have reviewed all the evidence. I have read the police reports. I have looked at the social media posts, specifically the Instagram posts from August 15th and 16th, where Madison posted videos captioned, "Got pulled over by the most pathetic cop ever," and "Seriously, this guy thinks he can mess with me." I have watched the Ring doorbell footage showing her traveling at excessive speeds. I have considered the defendant's age, 23 years old, and her background. I have considered everything that should be considered in a case like this. But I keep coming back to something fundamental, something that gets lost sometimes in our legal system. We have laws for a reason. We have speed limits for a reason. We have consequences for breaking those laws for a reason. And the reason is simple: to protect people, to keep our communities safe, to ensure that everyone can live without fear of someone's reckless behavior destroying their lives. You know what troubles me most about this case? It's not even the speeding, as serious as that is. It's not even the reckless endangerment. It is the attitude. It is the arrogance. It is the complete lack of understanding that her actions affect other people with real families and real lives. When I look at the evidence, when I read that police report, when I see those social media posts, and when I watch that doorbell footage, I see someone who has been taught, maybe not explicitly but through experience, that consequences don't apply to them, that they can do what they want, that their family name or their father's money will always bail them out. Well, not today, not in this courtroom, not on my watch. I want to explain something about sentencing. When a judge sentences someone, we aren't trying to be cruel. We aren't trying to destroy lives. We are trying to do several things at once. First, we are trying to punish the wrongdoing. Yes, punishment is part of justice. Second, we are trying to deter that person from doing it again. Third, we are trying to send a message to others watching that this behavior won't be tolerated. And fourth, and this is important, we are trying to protect the community. In most cases, I can balance these goals with a sentence that is firm but merciful, a sentence that punishes but also offers a path to redemption. But in this case, we have multiple violations on August 15th and August 18th. We have a complete lack of remorse. We have attempted intimidation of Officer Daniel Martinez. We have public mockery of law enforcement through social media posts viewed by over 12,000 people. And most troubling of all, we have a repeat offense just 3 days after the first incident. This tells me that the defendant either doesn't understand the seriousness of what she has done, or she understands it perfectly well and simply doesn't care. Either way, anything less than a serious consequence would be a failure of this court's duty to protect the public. Now, I want to address something directly. There are people who will watch what happens here today and say, Judge Caprio is being too harsh. He is known for being compassionate. He is known for giving people breaks. Why is he being so tough in this case? My answer is simple. Compassion without accountability isn't compassion at all. It is enabling. When I give someone a break, when I reduce a sentence, when I show mercy, it is because I see genuine remorse. It is because I see someone who understands what they did wrong and wants to make it right. it is because I see someone who made a mistake but isn't defined by that mistake. But I don't see any of that here. What I see is someone who thinks she is untouchable. I see someone who has shown through her actions and words that she has learned nothing from this experience except maybe that she needs better lawyers next time. And let me tell you something else. The defense mentioned that Madison Thornton has no prior criminal record. That is true. She has never been arrested or convicted before. Normally, that would weigh heavily in favor of leniency. But you know what? Most 23-year-olds don't have criminal records. That is not special. That is the bare minimum of being a law-abiding citizen. We don't give out awards for not breaking the law up until now. I also want to address the argument that she is young, born in 2001, and that we should give her a chance to grow. Look, I understand that argument. Young people make mistakes. Their brains are still developing. They don't always think about consequences. But here is the thing. At 23 years old, you are old enough to vote. You have been able to vote since you were 18. You are old enough to serve in the military. You are old enough to sign contracts and get married. And you are certainly old enough to know that driving 70 miles per hour in a 25 zone is dangerous. You are old enough to know that threatening a police officer is wrong. You are old enough to know that mocking someone on social media with 47,000 followers watching is cruel. And you are certainly old enough to know that when you get caught doing something wrong on August 15th, you don't double down and do it again 3 days later on August 18th. This isn't about a young person making an innocent mistake. This is about someone who has been raised to believe that rules don't apply to them. Unless this court intervenes, unless we send a clear and unmistakable message right now, I fear what might happen next time, because there will be a next time. People with this attitude, with this level of arrogance, do not stop until something forces them to stop. I have been thinking a lot about what justice looks like in this case, and I have come to a conclusion. Justice isn't just about punishing Madison Thornton. It's about protecting future victims. It's about sending a message to every other entitled young person out there who thinks their family name puts them above the law. It's about vindicating Officer Daniel Martinez, who was just doing his job and was subjected to abuse and humiliation for it. And it's about restoring faith in our system, faith that may have been shaken by too many cases where wealthy defendants walk away with a slap on the wrist. So here is what I have decided. I want you to understand that I have given this a lot of thought. I have weighed every argument from both the prosecution and the defense, and I have prayed on it, because decisions like this aren't easy. On the charge of reckless driving from August 15, 2024, citation number 2428847, I am sentencing you to the maximum penalty allowed under Rhode Island General Law 1191. That is 90 days in the Adult Correctional Institutions, the state prison on Howard Avenue here in Cranston. On the charge of attempting to intimidate a law enforcement officer under Rhode Island General Law 11-37-7. I am adding another 60 days, to be served consecutively, not concurrently. On the additional charge of reckless driving from the second incident on August 18, 2024, I am sentencing you to another 90 days, also consecutive. That is a total of 240 days, 8 months. You will serve this time at the Women's Division of the Adult Correctional Institutions, and I am ordering that there be no early release for good behavior, no work release program, and no special privileges. You will serve your time like everyone else. Your reporting date will be December 2nd, 2024 at 9:00 a.m. In addition, I am imposing a fine of $15,000 to be paid in full within 60 days by January 26, 2025. Before anyone says that is too much or too little, let me explain where that money is going. It will be divided equally into 3 parts. $5,000 will go to the Rhode Island Victims of Reckless Driving Fund. $5,000 will go to the Providence Public Schools Safe Streets Education Program, and $5,000 will go to support the Providence Police Department's community outreach and training programs. I am also suspending your driver's license, Rhode Island license number T5847239, for 3 years. Not 1 year, not 2 years, 3 full years, beginning today, November 27th, 2024, and ending November 27th, 2027. When those 3 years are up, you will be required to retake both the written examination and the practical road test. You will also be required to complete a comprehensive driver safety course of at least 30 hours. Furthermore, you will be required to perform 200 hours of community service, specifically working with the Rhode Island chapter of Mothers Against Drunk Driving or with families of traffic accident victims at Rhode Island Hospital's Trauma Center. I want you to see firsthand the real consequences of reckless driving. I am also ordering that you be prohibited from operating any motor vehicle during the entire period of your suspension. If you are caught driving during this time, you will face additional criminal charges and a minimum of an additional 1 year of jail time. No exceptions. I can see the shock on faces in this courtroom. Some of you probably think I'm being too harsh. Some of you probably think I'm not being harsh enough. But let me tell you why I made this decision. Madison Thornton needs to understand that her actions have consequences. Real consequences. Not consequences that her father's $400 million company can make go away. Not consequences that her lawyers can negotiate into nothing. Real tangible consequences that will affect her life. 8 months in the women's division at the ACI is a long time. It is long enough to think. It is long enough to understand what you have done. It is long enough to hopefully emerge as a changed person, but it is not so long that it destroys your life. She will be out by August of 2025. She will still be 24 years old. She will still have her whole life ahead of her. She can still go to school, build a career, and become a productive member of society. But she needed to learn this lesson, and she needed to learn it now, before her arrogance and recklessness killed someone. Because make no mistake, that is where this was heading. I would rather have her sit in prison for 8 months being angry at me than have her spend the rest of her life living with the fact that she killed 7-year-old Emma Rodriguez or 72-year-old Dorothy Henderson because she thought she was too important to follow the rules. The 3-year license suspension is designed to be meaningful, especially in Rhode Island where public transportation is limited. Driving is a privilege we often take for granted, but it is not a right. It is a privilege that comes with responsibility. And when someone abuses that privilege as egregiously as Madison Thornton has, they need to lose it for a significant period of time. As for the $15,000 fine and the 200 hours of community service, those are designed to ensure that something positive comes from this negative situation. That money will help people affected by reckless driving. That community service will, I hope, open her eyes to the real human cost of behavior like hers. Now, I know some people will say I am making an example of her because of who her father is. And you know what? They are partially right. I am making an example, but not because of who her father is. I am making an example because of who she chose to be, because of the arrogance she displayed, the contempt she showed for Officer Martinez, and the danger she posed to innocent people. If this had been a first offense, if she had shown remorse, if she had apologized, if she hadn't posted those videos, and if she hadn't done it again 3 days later, well, then we would be having a very different conversation. I probably would have given her a $2,000 fine, 50 hours of community service, a 6-month suspension, and a stern warning. But that isn't what happened. What happened was a display of arrogance and entitlement that frankly disgusts me. I have been doing this too long to pretend that a slap on the wrist is going to change that attitude. Sometimes people need to face real consequences to understand that their actions matter. I want to say something to the parents watching this case, whether you are here in Providence, watching on YouTube, or reading the journal tomorrow. Please teach your children that everyone deserves respect. Teach them that police officers are people doing a difficult job. Teach them that money and status don't make you better than anyone else. Because if you don't teach them these lessons, if you let them grow up thinking they are above it all, you are failing them. You are setting them up for a very hard fall. And when that fall comes, when they are standing in a courtroom like this one facing a judge like me, it is going to be too late to undo years of bad lessons. I don't know what kind of parenting led to Madison's behavior, and I am not here to judge Robert and Patricia Thornton's parenting. But I will say this. If my child had behaved the way this defendant did, if they had spoken to Officer Martinez that way, I would be ashamed. I would be heartbroken. And I would absolutely support any consequence that might help them become a better person. Before I close, I want to say something to Madison. You are 23 years old. You are young. You have your whole life ahead of you. This doesn't have to define you. 8 months from now, in August 2025, you can walk out of that facility and make a choice. You can choose to be bitter and angry. You can choose to blame me, the system, or Officer Martinez, or you can choose to learn from this. You can choose to understand that you were wrong. You can choose to become a better person. You can use this experience to develop empathy and humility. You can choose to spend the rest of your life making sure no one else has to go through what could have happened. I hope you make the right choice. I really do, because I don't want to see you back here in 5 or 10 years facing even more serious charges. I don't want to read in the paper that you finally caused that accident or finally hurt someone. I want to believe that you can change. But that change has to start with accountability. It has to start with accepting that what you did was wrong. It has to start with understanding that this sentence is not about me being mean. It is about justice and protecting the community. And yes, it is about giving you a wake-up call that might just save your life. You have the right to appeal this sentence to the Rhode Island Superior Court within 30 days. Attorney Morrison will explain that process. But I want you to know that I have been very careful in crafting this sentence to be within the bounds of the law, and I am confident it will withstand any appeal. I also want to say something to Officer Daniel Martinez. Officer, thank you for your 18 years of service. Thank you for your professionalism in handling a difficult situation on August 15th. Thank you for not letting Madison's behavior provoke you. You are exactly the kind of police officer we need in this community, and the Providence Municipal Court appreciates you. To everyone else in this courtroom and watching from afar, I hope this serves as a reminder. The law applies to everyone. Justice is blind to wealth, status, and family connections. In this courtroom at 25 Doran Street, we treat everyone with respect, but we hold everyone accountable. If you are a young person, learn from this. Understand that your choices have consequences. If you are a parent, use this as a teaching moment. And if you are someone with advantages in life, remember that those advantages come with responsibilities. They are not a license to treat others poorly. They should make you more aware of your obligations to society. This court is adjourned. The defendant, Madison Elizabeth Thornton, will be remanded into custody immediately to begin serving her sentence. Bailiff, please proceed.